Hello guys, welcome back to our channel, and we are going to have the last part of this structural sleeve. So this is it. After I was done drafting it, I had to remove it from the mannequin, and now we are going to proceed to the table, and you will learn the main thing that makes it to stand up and the reason why it do stand the way it does. So I went ahead to bring out the fabric that we're using. This is a Duchess fabric. Don't forget that it must not be a plain fabric. If you're using Ankara to make this, it will still come out fine. So I pinned it on top of it. If you look closely, you will notice that the fabric is on fold. One will be the outer layer, while another one will be the lining. That's the one that will be inside. So make sure you double it. I love cutting it once so that I will not have excess while cutting the next one. So what I do is this: I fold my fabric into two and cut it once. Then this one is the other part of the structure. I also folded my fabric into two and placed the pattern on top and went ahead to cut it like this. I went ahead to cut the gum stay. Remember, we are using the thickest gum stay for this. So I placed my fabric on top. Remember to check it well before you cut it. The part that will have gum stay is the part that will be the outer layer. The lining does not have gum stay, except if you want it to be too thick. And remember that this is the thickest gum stay. So if you make it double, it might give you headache when you're turning it up. So I use only one side of it, which is my main fabric. As you can see, I have already cut the other part, and now I'm cutting the second structural sleeve. So I made sure I check it very well. The part that will be my main fabric is the one that will be having the gum stay. I went ahead to iron my hair stay on top after I was done cutting the gum stay. So I ironed all the four parts, both the lining, both the main fabric. I ironed hair stay in all of them. The reason for this hair stay is for it to give it this smooth look outside. You know, when you iron gum stay direct on your fabric, sometimes you'll be having bubbles. So the reason for this hair stay is for it to give your fabric a smooth look. Though you can choose not to add it, but I recommend you adding it because it avoids those bubbles, coupled with the fact that this is a plain fabric. If you use it direct, it will give you some bubbles. Now take a close look at how I'm ironing it. I'm doing this gently. If you're not using a steam iron, always sprinkle water on it so that you have a neat work. Remember, neat work is our priority. So I ironed all of them, as you can see, and now I'm going to iron the gum stay to the right part of our fabrics. So I got the outer layer and placed it on top of the gum stay. The reason why I cut out this gum stay before ironing it is because I don't want it to give me a different shape. As you can see, the shape I have on my fabric is the same with the one I have on my gum stay. But sometimes when you cut out a fabric and you iron direct on top of your gum stay, sometimes the shape will change. I don't know if you have encountered such. So to avoid something like that, just cut it out first before you iron it. And when ironing, also do that gently. Make sure that all the parts are well secured and iron it very, very well, because if you don't iron it very well, it will give you bubbles. So now all of them are set and ready to be sewn. The next thing we are going to do is to mark out the part that our boning will be, and we are going to make that boning channel with a bias. Remember, that will be on your lining. Do not do that on your main fabric. If you take a look at our structure, you will notice that the part that was attached to the dress, that net part, is curvy. It doesn't have boning. So that part, we are not going to add boning to that side. That's the reason why I started this point where I started. So the boning will start from the arm that's the armhole area, to the other part of the dress. So now we are going to move over to the sewing part. As you can see, I left half inch when I marked this, so that half inch will serve as our sewing allowance. Now I'm going to sew our bias, so I did that gently. I sew it on the line that I drew, leaving half inch behind for our sewing allowance. And when I got to the end point of it, I locked it up. So I went down again to sew it to create a boning channel. When you get to the other part of it, do not lock it because you'll be passing your boning through that part, but lock the other side. Now I'm done sewing. Next thing is to iron it. Remember that this is on our lining, not our main fabric, so I ironed it to give it this smooth look. Remember, neat work is our priority. Right now, I brought out the main fabric and the lining, and I'll be using pin to hold them together before I move over to the sewing machine to sew them. Please make sure you use pin on this. If you don't use pin, the other one of it might be longer than one, or you might not get the exact shape of the two of them. So make sure you pin it to avoid stories that touches the heart. If you have watched to this part, I believe you have subscribed to our channel. This channel teaches with details. In case you are coming across our video for the very first time, do well to subscribe because our teachings are the best. So right now, I've already sewn it. No need to show the sewing part. It's just the way you sew something together. So I went ahead to make notches. Please make sure you make these notches. If you don't do that, all those curvy parts will not relax very well. So make notches and trim off all the excess, leaving just small thing behind so that your work will be very neat and relaxed. So after trimming it off, you go ahead to notch. I did that on the other parts and also the left hand side. And now we are going to turn it up. See the way I'm doing that, because turning this up can be somehow hard. So I was holding the part that is the lining, and I turned it up like this. When doing this, just calm down because it might frustrate you a little, but just calm down and do that. Use your pin to bring out all the edges out and make sure all of them relaxes. In case you don't get it, see the way I did it. I held the lining part and then flipped it just like this. You might not be able to get all of them once, but once you get the first part, you will now start bringing it out just like this. Just relax yourself, okay? You will get it. So at this point, it was not just coming out. I had to bring my curve needle and it was just super easy. I was done. And now we are going to iron it. We are going to give it a good pressing so that it will have a very smooth effect. Then when ironing it, get something and place on top, especially when you are using a plain fabric, to avoid anything like shiny effects on it. Place something on top to avoid that. So I use some pieces of the fabric. You can use any one you want, then place it on top and give it a good pressing. Do well to iron front and back, which means you'll be ironing both the front part and the lining. So now we are going to pass boning into those boning channels we created. So I brought out my boning and then passed it inside that bias, and make sure you stop at that point the bias stopped. If you notice that your bias is way longer, check it on your mannequin. See the way I'm doing it, you check it on your mannequin to make sure that the boning is no longer than what it should be. So I measured it and then proceeded to do the other part. I did this on the other sleeve and this is what I got. So now we are going to tack it to our dress, and remember to always use pin to hold it first before you tack it. I proceeded to hold it with my pins. This is also the work of your pin. So can you see that all the tools we highlighted earlier has been successfully used to get this structural sleeve. So do well to like this video, share it, and drop a comment. In case you do not understand anything, don't hesitate to drop it in the comment section. I will respond to you. Now I brought out my curve needle and my nylon thread. You can use any type of needle to do this, but curve needle will make it easier for you. So I brought it out and I had to bring down the camera. I brought it closer so that you'll be able to see what I'm doing, and this is how I'm tacking it. Make sure that your stitches are invisible so that you have a neat work at the end of the day. So this is the end of this tutorial. As for the back, you know that the back was not hemmed, and all you need to do about it is to fold it inside and tack it as well. So you see the way I'm doing this, you do that gently and make sure that it's very neat. Subscribe to our channel and do well to drop your question if you have any. I love you all.